I'm Anthony Harries, and I'm going to very briefly discuss with you the issue of investigators for operational research studies and authorship on the subsequent papers. And I'm going to do this by taking you through an example of a research protocol conducted in Malawi. So in this research protocol, ADH designs the study and puts the protocol together. It's a countrywide study and will involve visits to all 40 TB hospitals around the country. He works with a colleague, FG, to design the data collection form and decides to involve FG in the data collection exercise. With the protocol, they take this to the Program Director and the Deputy Program Director, FMS and JK, and the study protocol receives their blessing. The study is then done over 3 months by ADH and FG, and a driver D is involved in transport. As we go from hospital to hospital, district TB officers help on site with obtaining data from TB registers and TB treatment cards. Once back at base, FG enters the data in the paper-based proformas into EpiInfo, and this is cross-checked by ADH. The data analysis is then performed by ADH and FG, and we are ready to write the paper. Now, it's important to understand what constitutes authorship on a scientific paper. We have 3 conditions, and these have been agreed by the gurus, if you like, of the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors. And all 3 conditions have to be met in order to be an author on a paper. The first condition is that an author has to have made a substantial contribution to conception and design, or acquisition of data, or analysis of data, or interpretation of data. So it does not have to be every single one of those, but just one of them or 1 or 2 of them. Secondly, the second condition is that the author has to be involved in either drafting the article or critically reviewing one of the drafts. And the third condition is that all authors must give approval for the final version to be published. So let's move back to this Malawi protocol and the Malawi paper. The first draft of the paper is written by ADH and FG. And once this is in a reasonable shape, they share this with FMS and JK, the Program Director and the Deputy Program Director. And the paper is almost finalized. However, at this stage, it is decided that because the paper has important policy implications, that we should share this with the Director of Preventive Services in the Ministry of Health and the Secretary for Health in the Ministry of Health, these being 2 top officials in the Ministry of Health Civil Service. We asked them if they would like to read the paper and be considered for authorship, and they agree on both counts. So the authorship, therefore, is ADH, FG, FMS, JK, DPH and SH, 6 people. We then need to decide who is first author, who is second author, and who is the last author. The first author is the most important and carries, if you like, the most credibility on a scientific paper. The second author is also quite important, really as a sort of lieutenant to the first author. The last author is an important author, is usually the senior author, and gets a lot of credibility for being last on the paper. So if we look at who's done the type of work for this study, probably ADH should be first author, FG should be second author, and FMS should be last author. Or we could say, because we're encouraging FG to do operational research, maybe we make FG first author, FMS second author, and maybe ADH could go last author. This is for discussion and debate. The important thing, though, is to be honest about author contributions. Now, if we put this box together, you can see that in that first column on the left, in terms of design of the study, protocol, implementation, data collection, data entry, analysis, paper writing, approval of a final paper, ADH and FG contributed to all those components. If we go to the second row and look at FMS and JK, they approve the study, they read the first draft, they approve the final paper. So in fact, they fulfill all three conditions for authorship. We have a problem, however, when we come to DPH and SH, because they read the first draft, they approved the final paper, but really they did not do very much in terms of components for that first condition. And so should they or should they not be on the paper? Really, our mistake in this study was not involving DPH and SH right at the beginning and ensure that they bought in and approved that protocol with the conception and the design. In the event, what happened in this paper is that we included them. We had a slight problem with the journal, but we made a case that these people were crucial for making important policy and practice decisions, and we needed them on the paper in order to ensure that this happened. But in conclusion, we have to think these things through. And this is an example, therefore, to help you think about your research. With the study team, assign roles right at the outset and decide who is going to be a member of that study team. Designate the lead, the principal investigator, and that principal investigator should be the first author. All persons who make a substantial contribution to the paper should be included. My philosophy is always to be inclusive rather than exclusive. Order is important, but sort this out at the beginning of the protocol rather than at the end of writing the paper. Finally, NGOs often collect large data sets that may be used for answering several questions, and authorship can be shared between several papers. But as I said a few minutes ago, please do this at the beginning of the paper, at the beginning of a research project, rather than at the end. If you want to learn more about how decision makers, policy makers can be involved in authorship of papers, I suggest you read these papers and the correspondence that were published in Tropical Medicine and International Health in August 2013. Thank you for your attention.